Welcome to Be Bold Branding. I'm Tanya Eberhardt, founder of BrandFace, where we help business owners differentiate themselves, and we do that through personal branding.
Hi guys, I'm Michael Carr. I'm the COO of BrandFace. I was a client before, became a partner in the company, and we're the only comprehensive personal brand building system across the globe. And we do these Be Bold Branding episodes to help you take the fear out of putting yourself out there. We've got a fantastic guest with us here today.
He's one of our faves. We don't mind saying we love this guy. He actually went through our personal branding program not long ago. His name is Bobby Gellert, and Bobby is from Westchester, New York. And there's a big reason today, guys, we wanted to talk to Bobby. It's a very timely for everybody. As you guys may or may not know, the Westchester area is one of the hardest hit areas in the country with COVID-19. And Bobby's brand and Bobby's human being is just so positive. Bobby is one of the most positive people that we know, and we thought that we would bring him in today to talk a little bit about his positivity and what keeps him positive throughout all of this economic downturn and serious time in history. So welcome, Bobby.
Thank you very much, guys. I'm happy to be here. I'm glad you both are well and safe, and heard all good and everything. Company's doing well, so happy to hear all of that. COVID-19 is a real devastating thing, and while I may talk about positivity in this conversation, right, there's a lot of terrible stories, a lot of death, and right. So, and there are heroes out there that are real work, which we have to have immense respect for. So that is the undercurrent, because a lot of what we're going to talk about is how have we gotten through this, and it's all through positive thinking. So we can't discount everything that's really going on in the world, which is, it's very devastating, and we're still in it. So I just needed to say that to sort of start off. But for me, it's all about mindset. And we're going to get deep into the mindset and sort of how I think about all of that. But for me, I excel, and other people like myself sort of excel in change and when there's uncertainty, right? A lot of people typically put their head in the sand, or they procrastinate when there's times of change or with things that they don't understand. For me, see that as opportunity. I'm always going in through the outdoor, always thinking outside the box. It's just who I am, and that's consistent. And it's a matter of, like, the yogi in me, it's more of being the thermostat and not being the thermometer, right? When you're the thermostat, like, you set sort of what the change is. You're the gauge. When you're the thermometer, you're more reacting to things. And that is a key mindset to have through life, and to stay positive, right? To stay even keeled through a whole bunch of different things. And even for me, COVID-19 has been very challenging. My business here in New York, as you pointed out, we're non-essential, right? We can't really do anything. Everything is virtual. So we've had to adjust and pivot our business. I've had to, coach my agents through all that. I had to redesign my website. So to me, initially, it was about survival, right? Change, opportunity. Got to survive first. What does this all mean? Like, all those thoughts. And I'm bringing my whole team with me. I'm bringing my family with me, right? Adjusting, pivoting, doing all of that. You already hear the passion in me. That's exactly, as soon as it happened, I was like, okay, what do we have to do? And I just went into that survival mode, right? You can't discount, self-care when you're going through these changes and stuff like that, right? I have a meditation practice, right? We should be exercising. This is really a new temporary reality. Maintain that focus that it is temporary, that we are getting out of this. But while it's temporary, what I was really focused on is, like, what do we rarely get to do, either as a business, as a worker, or as a family? Like, my family has eaten dinner every night together for the last 2 months. We've never, ever would have been able to do that before. I mean, those are the silver linings in all of this. And, you know, it's been great, which is why I started off saying what I was saying, because it's a terrible thing, but these are the silver linings. This is what, you know, and we're all going through those realizations, like how are we each going to be different for our family? Like what have we each done during this time that's going to make a difference? I've told my team, pick one thing you do for an hour a day. At the end of this, you'll have, you know, 50, 60 hours of time dedicated on something that you can become really good at that one thing. I said it to my kids too, pick one thing, paint, just do one thing, focus on one thing. So I like creating positivity by narrowing focus down and spending time and putting hours in so that there's something productive at the end of this. What I didn't want to happen was to go through all this time and not have anything to show for it, or not have any like realizations, just be like, oh, it would have been good if I did X, Y, or Z, right? But for me personally, I really focused on my business. And I do that a lot as a business owner. And we say these words all the time of, you know, working on our business instead of in our business, right? As CEO of company, right? Really, really, really important to do. So I've been focused on my company, growing a lot of facets of it in terms of things that we do in terms of marketing and video and content, working on websites, getting ourselves ready for whatever it's going to be new. And we started off this conversation talking about just how, you know, virtual deals and closings and stuff, right? Efficiencies to bring to our marketplace of what we do every day. It's going to make it better, right? In my previous life, right, I was doing transactions, 300, 400, 500 million dollars. All of our deals were done with wires and escrows, and we never went to a closing. I signed everything, or it was digital, right? Residential closings, you go to the closing. It takes 5 hours, right? It's just, why are we spending that time, right? Where now COVID has caused us to be more efficient, which is a very, very, very good thing. But you have to bring the attorneys along. You have to bring the clients along, whether it's Zoom calls or getting comfortable with doing X, Y, or Z, right? So those are all changes. Those are all really efficient. But it's having the mindset to like look through the prism in this way of like, what could be good coming out of this? And then just working on those things. That's in a nutshell how I've been able to really stay positive.
Like, this is one of the biggest things that the world's had to face. United States has had to face. You're right there in the epicenter of it. And yet you already had a company, but you've launched this new brand, right? And gone and taken that company into another direction, whatnot, in the middle of it, and yet can stay this positive. And that's a shining example of what everybody ought to be doing. You know, I'm the same way, Tanya's the same way. We're eternal optimists. And like you said, we have to acknowledge how bad things are, but we also have to stay positive that it's going to be better in the future, because if we just wallow in that misery, it just tends to create more of it, right? So you have a 1 minute breathing exercise or something to help you focus. Is that right?
Yeah, so that's called 1 minute breath. I've been meditating and doing 1 minute breath for about 2,000 days at this point, which is about 5 to 6 years. I really started when I was 25 years old. It was more of a morning prayer of gratefulness, saying thank you, which really grew into a meditation once I knew what meditating was. For me, we were on vacation with my family, and it was the first day of vacation, and I just said, today's the day I'm going to start this meditation. And I am a natural athlete, and while I love to play sports, I'm not someone who loves to like exercise. I'll ride bike or do something like that. But meditation for me is all about breathing. And I think breathing is really the most important thing that we can do. So 1 minute breath is a meditation where you inhale for a certain amount of time, you hold it for a certain amount of time, and then exhale for a certain amount of time. Now, it's called 1 minute breath because in 1 minute, you have 20-second intervals. 20 seconds, you exhale for 20 seconds, you hold it for 20 seconds, then you exhale for 20 seconds. So when I started out, I started out, I believe, doing it for 5-second intervals. And I did it for 3 minutes. And when you inhale for 5 seconds, at least for me, it felt a little short, meaning there's a transition point where you have to change from inhale to hold to exhale. It was a little short. So I actually started out at about 8 seconds, and I did that for 31 minutes, my first time. And the first time I did it, when I was done, when I finished it, it was better than playing any sport or athletic game that I ever played in my life. I was exhausted for breathing 31 minutes, but the clarity that I had, I was just like it was like a light went off inside of me, and I'm like, oh my God, this is really something special. I did not know what it meant, but it's like one of those things, like after you work out in the gym, you want to go back to the gym, regardless of if you lost weight or you feel stronger. Like, it's the chemicals that go on inside your body. And I was just like, I can't wait for tomorrow to do this again, right? And I did it, and what ended up happening was I increased the 5-second intervals up to 20 seconds. It took me a little over 250 days to get to getting to 20 seconds. But the benefits of getting to 20 seconds, or even if all you did was 5-second intervals for 11 minutes a day, whatever it is, the benefits of a meditation like this is that to sit there, and I do this at 5:30 in the morning, right? There's the ambrosial hour of between 4 and 7, right? Most people do their workouts or stuff in the morning, right? I was talking about morning routine earlier. To have that type of morning routine, most people do it at that time because things are still, it's before the day gets going or whatever. So that time to just spend yourself. And I didn't know what I'm about to talk to you about. I just decided to start that day. But what I started to realize as I started to do this was there was such heightened intuition that I was able to garner from this on a day in, day out basis, because I was able to reflect on that breath, because I love the way that it made me felt and the openness that it created for me from doing that every day was really important. Obviously, there's de-stressing and all of that, which you get from meditation, which most people, that's why they gravitate towards it, because, oh, you're stressed, you got to meditate, right? That is a great reason to do it, but there are a variety of other reasons to do it as well. Some of the main ones are to actually spend 31 minutes with yourself in silence, like, amazing thing to do. It's great to do with another human being, like just to share space and time with someone without even talking, right? That's like a really nice thing to do. That's more mindfulness than it is meditation, right? That's like a really special thing to do. I do with my kids, my daughters, all the time. They can be doing work or homework. I'll go into their room, sit down, and just spend time there. And eventually they'll start talking to me, and it's about something that's important to them. And as a dad, that's like a really special thing to do. And I love doing that because there's nothing predetermined on my part other than just to be there, and to have that conversation start is really, really special. So I love doing that, right? But here I'm doing this with myself, and you have conversations with yourself when that happens, right? You start to be like, oh my God, what am I doing? Like, just get up already. Why are you just sitting here breathing? Because what's happening is your brain is sending you all those thoughts. That's what you want to control, right? Because when you're typically sitting in your living room and you're like, oh my God, I got to go do laundry, forget about that. You're sitting in your living room. You may have friends over. Why are you thinking about the laundry? Why are you thinking about the business meeting you have tomorrow? There's always time to think about something. Like, be in the moment. So that's what it trains you to do. It trains you to really be in the moment, focus on yourself, and train your mind to always come back to the breath and not think about all those thoughts. I wake up at 5 o'clock and I do this meditation. So now I'm doing it on Facebook Live. And an amazing thing for me, and what I'm experiencing right now, and I'm so happy about, is that getting up and doing this alone, I have to tap in, which I don't mind, tap into like the universe of people that are meditating or exercise. And if you're thinking about that and you want to tap into it for that motivation, it takes energy and strength to sort of do that, but you do feel those vibrations, right? Now, by being live, I've like opened it up and like people are with me. Like I've had 4 people one day, 11 people another day. And, you know, I try to type to them, ask them if they have any questions. And I told them, don't worry about interrupting me. I'm doing it with people. And it's like through the internet, which so now there's like real connectivity, which has made it so much more real for me. And I'm not alone anymore, right?
I love it. I love it. You know,
Yeah.
which brings us to the next question is, you know, you've talked about how it helps you personally and how you shared that with other people just for the personal aspect of things. But another question is, you know, talk about how how your mindfulness and meditative exercises have really helped you secure business, because it does work that way.
It definitely does work that way. And it's all part of, I guess, what you've heard people talk about, the finite or the infinite mindset. Like for me, and using the sports analogy again, you know, we always use visualization in sports. You see athletes, you know, practicing foul shots, you know, closing their eyes, or, you know, you see baseball players, you know, with their swing, tennis players using visualization. I'm a true believer that we are what we believe, or we are like what we think about. That's a really big thing for anyone in business or any industry. It's sort of like an example. People will resonate with this, which is, you know, Instagram or Facebook, right? They have algorithms. If you're looking on Facebook and you like dogs, whatever it is, and you're swiping and you love dogs, they're sending you dogs to look at. Like
Right.
that's the way it works. It's just both those social media platforms. It's the way they're designed. It's the way your mind works too. When you just bought a car and you're like, oh my God, everyone now has that Jeep. I just bought this Jeep. Now everyone's got this Jeep, right? It's because your mind is doing that to you. So if your mind could do that to you, and if the, you know, software engineers are smart enough to send you dogs, if you're looking at dogs, right? It's the same type of thing, right? We are what we believe, right? And our behavior is, you know, belief driven. And if we use that as like a superpower for ourselves, there's no limit, right? And we put limits on ourselves. That's what we do. We're constantly putting limits. I'm not good enough. I'm too tired. You can come up with excuses. They're all excuses, right? No excuses. Set bigger goals. Set goals, and then, you know, multiply them by 5%, 5 times. Those are now your goals, right? Just shoot further, shoot farther, right? They have to be realistic, right? But just have bigger goals. Visualize yourself doing things that you really want to do. It is more likely to happen. Every moment is an interview, right? Talking to you guys, right? You guys could be, you know, friends with X, Y, or Z and be like, you got to meet this guy, Bobby. He is just so unbelievable, regardless of if I want any opportunities or not. But if you're looking at every situation as an opportunity or as an interview, because you never know, like we're all just like one phone call or one introduction away from our life just completely changing.
That's absolutely
right?
correct.
So true.
You have to put yourself in those situations. And that's what it comes down to, is just being open, being mindful of your situation.
I want to say something about the focus of that. You know what I mean? When you were talking about how the meditation helps you to focus and it gets rid of so much of that, you know, junk,
Noise,
just voices in your head, you know, and all that. That also helps you prioritize what's important, right? Not just what's important in our personal lives, but in business also. It can help declutter, because I tell people all the time, I'm like, you cannot sacrifice the important for the immediate. You know, and so many times we can get hit with this, and everybody's telling us it's immediate, and we can get turned off. And if we don't have good focus and good parameters to filter that, to say, no, that's not immediate. That can be handled tomorrow, the next day, 5 days from now. You know, the important is the immediate. Then you see all of that begin to change also. Which segues into my question. I want to ask you about how you've kept moving, and you sort of talked about this earlier, but I want you to expound on it a little bit more, how you've kept moving with building your brand during this particular time. even though you're in that highly affected area where y'all are literally quarantined. You know, I'm in Georgia, so we're only like, we pretty much have opened up under you know, phases now, and I think we're in phase 2 or something of so many other things that can be open and be out, but you guys are still quarantined. How are you, you know, using all of that to move that brand forward?
Going through the process and going through your system, and with your help and sort of, you know, I gave you a ton of information and you guys were able to distill it. Purpose-driven performance is my brand identifier, right? And my elevator pitch sort of is experienced New York real estate with passion, precision, and purpose, right? But purpose-driven performance, 3 really, really strong words. Now, while I knew I was going to launch this, I didn't know how and in what way. So to answer your question, before getting into the detail of how I've expanded just purpose-driven performance into a, you know, a Venn diagram and how I use this and how I could explain it to others right now, is I knew I wanted to use all the collaterals we were making and use it to further my business. And I knew I wanted to build a website for recruiting and for, you know, bringing in business listings with sellers. So I needed all of, you know, the photos and the collaterals and everything we designed together to use for that. So it was a very seamless thing. Like the company that I ended up working with, when they asked me for, you know, can you send me a logo and this, I sent them like a ton of stuff and they're like, oh my God, how do you have all this stuff, right? It was because I knew what I was doing. It was planned out. It was thoughtful for whatever. So like I had thought it through from a high level. I didn't know exactly what I was going to do, but I knew, and going through the process with you, it all crystallized with me. I needed to finish the process with you and then get on to building the website and sort of launching those 2 different things, the recruiting and, you know, for seller listings. Everything is about mindset, being mindful and all of that. So I know what a Venn diagram is, and I've never used or built one before, but I put that right in the middle. The other sections are words that I've said to you guys over and over again during our thing, but I didn't force it. I wanted to see how this came together. When you have purpose and you're driven, right? You can tell from me through this conversation, right? Like I can inspire many people on virtually about anything, right? I know what my purpose is and I'm very driven, right? So I can tell the story and inspire others. I'm able to do that for my agents, and we can get into tactics and all that type of stuff. So seem to fit right there. When someone is driven and they're performance oriented, right? It takes motivation to make that happen. So I was like, okay, this is actually really working. When you're performing based on your purpose, you're performing. That's execution. I'm like, I can't believe this is really coming out like that either.
I love it.
When it happened, and I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, all right, well, there's more to purpose-driven performance, right? So what are other words I could use to further help? Because some people, when they hear those together, would be like purpose-driven performance. I don't know what that means. And I actually like that, because it gives me an opportunity to explain it in so many different ways.
You have to breathe your brand, which is why today's topic's so awesome, because actually that'll be the title of this Be Bold branding episode. Breathe your brand.
I love it.
The 1 minute breath. But this is just another example of breathing that brand, because you felt all 3 of those words. And those 3 words mean something apart, and they mean something together. And I love the way you express that, Bobby. So thank you for going that extra mile to really, really pull it all together. And we're so excited that you have so much passion about this.
Absolutely.
I hope that you guys have learned so much today. I know I have. I know I explained to Bobby before we got on here how I did my breathing exercises and I was doing them wrong. So I'll be correcting that. And I hope to join you, Bobby, on one of your 5:30 a.m. I may be a little bit later than that, but I will join you soon on one of your meditative mornings. So we so appreciate you, Bobby, and everything you bring to the table, and bless you and your family. And I know it's a difficult situation there. You were in, as Michael said, the epicenter of COVID, and we wish you and your family all the best. Stay safe and healthy, and keep breathing, keep breathing that brand.
Likewise, back to you guys. I really appreciate it. And to everyone that's listening, you're all welcome to show up between 5:30 and 6 o'clock any morning. I will definitely be there. And if you know any family or friends that are interested or need it, please share with them. Anyone could show up. I'm happy to share this with anyone and everyone. So I really encourage that.
All right. Well, guys, if you would like to learn some more about personal branding and even more about Bobby, join our Facebook group that is dedicated to personal branding. It's called Build Your Real Estate Brand if you're a real estate professional. If you are a business owner or entrepreneur, that Facebook group is called Build Your Business Star Brand. So join us there, guys.
That's right, folks. And, if you want to just talk about anything else to do with branding, you can go to discussyourbrand.com. discussyourbrand.com. And folks, I want to say, I say this all the time at the end of the shows, but Bobby's a living proof of what I'm fixing to say, because of how we've described how he is right there in the middle of what's going on in New York, the hardest hit of all of this mess. And he's thriving mentally, and he's also thriving in his business, and he's moving forward, and he's got that good positive outlook. He's very aware of everything going on. But he is also very aware that we're going to get past it, and that there is brighter days ahead. We call that prosperity. And we know, folks, that when we talk about prosperity, we're talking about the full 360 of an abundant life. He's a very prime example of that. We know that prosperity favors the bold. So we say, be bold, folks, especially with your brand, and stay bold. Thank you, Miss Tanya. And thank you, Mr. Bobby.
Thank you, guys. Really appreciate it.
You bet. Thank you, gentlemen. And guys, we'll see you next time on Be Bold Brand.